why not read extra? I didn't expect it's gonna be a beast. This one can easily be a 5-star read, even though I haven't finished this one yet. I am back from my holiday, but very unfortunately, I caught a cold. If you are into epic battles in an epic fantasy series, you wouldn't be disappointed here. Not feeling great, not feeling well, and the only thing I can do is reading to spend the time. Hi guys, this is Sam. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I am really excited here because I am going to participate in my very first Magical Readathon. It is also my first time to join any sort of reading challenge or readathon, so it is extra exciting. So this video is like a record of me playing my very first Magical Readathon. I find it very fun to pick a book based on the prompts. If you have no idea what this Magical Readathon is, I highly suggest you to check out the host G from Book Rose. She has already published a very detailed video about what and how you should play with it. To be brief here, the Magical Readathon is like a reading challenge that is based in a school setting. There are 2 terms, 2 semesters here, and in springtime, you need to choose a calling and fulfill all the prompts there. How you can complete all these prompts can be found on another guide, and of course, I will put all the links you need in the description below. Don't worry about it. I have already talked about all the books I am going to read in April and how some of them can fulfill all these prompts for my calling, Tomebinder. If you want a more detailed go through, you can check out my April's TBR, of course. What you need to know here is I am going to read 4 books for my calling. I know that there are only 3 prompts you need to do for my calling, but why not read extra? To quickly go through all the books I am going to read in April, I have Of Empires and Dust by Ryan Cahill, A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick, and Empire of Dirt by Philip C. Quintrell. To be honest, I was going to start with my most anticipated release of the year, which is Of Empires and Dust by Ryan Cahill, the 4th novel of the Bound and the Broken series. But I just forgot I haven't checked out the latest novella, The Eyes, out yet. And in the book for the latest novel Of Empires and Dust, Ryan Cahill do warn us we need to check out all the books in this series first before jumping into it. So unfortunately, I have an extra book to read and it is a novella. And because it is a novella, it is not too long and I am already 60% into it and it is called The Eyes. And very luckily, The Eyes, this book can actually take off some other prompts that is not for my calling. I have Alchemy, where all the letters on the title should be in capital. The Eyes, or capital. Restoration, over 4 stars on Goodreads, and this one is the over 4 stars. Shape-shifting, cover or title got a dragon. Cover, dragon. Or even I can just take off one of my prompts for Tomebinder and it is Spells and Incarnations. Word from my last book title. The last book I read is actually The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson, and I think I can just take off The Bands of Mourning and put it into The Eyes by Ryan Cahill. I think I got some sort of freedom or flexibility here because, in case you don't know, I am actually going to be away for a week in April. I am just slightly worried about how much I am going to read. If I am really lucky here, I can keep up with my reading progress. I may think about changing or upgrading my calling. If not, I'm just going to stick with my original one, Tomebinder. But back to the book I am currently reading, which is The Eyes by Ryan Cahill, the 3rd novella of the Bound and the Broken series. It is really a fast-paced read, and I do mean it, and it is actually about a task that is set before the 1st novel of the series. I don't think it will be much of a spoilers here because in the story, in the very beginning of it, we know that there will be a dragon. Of course, in this vlog, I will try to minimize as much spoilers as I can. I won't talk about all the twists or the plot, I will just try to analyze it very critically. So this novella, The Ice, is used to fill up that plot hole, how these characters, under the current circumstances, where it is impossible to hatch or have a new dragon, how this group of characters can come up with an egg eventually. What I do love about this book is the nature of it. It is a novella, so there won't be too many build-up in the plot. It is pretty much action after action and pretty intense already. Retrieving a dragon egg may sound easy to you, but actually this task is quite dangerous. Our characters have to travel to something real cold, and in this wild island, there are different sort of monsters and demons. But other than the plot, it just feels so good to jump back into this world that at least I am familiar with and meet the good old group of characters. I do love seeing Asen as a father figure, how he gonna see his boys with what he has gone through in the past, or what sort of burden he feels over his shoulders. There are also some more storylines for his kids, Eric and Darren, what they have done when they were young. My only problems with this novella is the time it is set in. It is before the main plot, before the three main novels. So as a reader who have completed every single book of this series according to the publication date, I would know the outcome of this dangerous task. What group of character will gonna live, who gonna die? It is just a bit predictable to me. If there are any new characters introduced in this novella, you would definitely know they will appear in the next novel. I mean, it is also the reason why you write a novella, other than to fill up the plot hole, also introduce the new players. After finishing this one, of course, I am going to read Of Empires and Dust, my most anticipated release of the year. So let's work on it real quick. Bye! So guys, it is actually a couple of days later, or a week actually. I want to give you guys an update here because I am going to be away 2 days later, and I don't think I will have time to film anything, let alone read anything when I am on holiday. So I think it is better for me to report what I have read so far for this Magical Readathon now. I have actually made some really good progress here, knowing that I am going to be away and really don't read much. First of all, of course, I have already finished The Ice by Ryan Cahill. Like I said, it is just like a very quick, fast-paced novella. Like I said in the opening, this novella is used to fill up a plot hole. In the main story, we keep reminding that the task to retrieve this dragon egg is so dangerous. Whoever gonna born with this dragon, that person should feel really lucky and feel the responsibility that person gonna hold. And finally, we got a chance to learn what has actually happened. But don't underestimate this short novella. Other than this plot hole, we also got a chance to explore, to give some depth to some character relationships. Like Asen, a father figure, and also what he has gone through in the past make him feel now, and what sort of deals he had made by the end of this novella. This book is also packed with actions after actions. Like I said, this task is never easy and there are plenty of monsters waiting for them, so there's gonna be action and blood. The last fight in this novella is a smaller scale conflict but scream epic. After going through all the hardship in this island, they have to fight to get out of this trouble on the sea. There's also a surprise cameo from one of my favorite characters in this series, which is like a surprise to me. The ending also cleverly ties up to what's gonna happen in the first book. I don't really want to give out too much here, but maybe the relationship between these two characters could be quite interesting in the fourth or the last novel. I have actually highlighted one of the quotes from this book, and it is, "Without love, there isn't much point in anything. Nothing to fight for, nothing to live for." I quite like it. Overall, I enjoyed this book very much. Even though it is just a short novella, Ryan Cahill never disappoints us, so I will give this one a 4 star. After finishing this novella, finally I can start my most anticipated release of the year, of Empires and Dust by Ryan Cahill again. Oh my gosh, I didn't expect it's gonna be a beast. According to Kindle, the total page count for this book is nearly 1700 pages, which I totally didn't expect. If I know that I'm going to be away for over a week, and I will probably not pick this one up because it is just too long to read in a month. Poor planning here. But I mean, it is my most anticipated release of the year, so there's no point not picking it up. I am actually 43% into the story, which is around, if you do some simple calculation, it is more or less 700 pages. It is quite a lot, I know, because I have spent so much time on it, and I have quite a lot to say here. When I read the first chapter, I was quite emotional already because this book takes place right after the ending of the last book. The opening reminds you of what the characters have gone through in the last book, what state they are in. So basically the atmosphere is quite despair. I was actually so emotional when I get back to this world. It reminds me so much of how heartbroken I was when I read the ending of War and Ruin. But our characters can't stop here because they have a bigger evil to deal with. There is actually one new writing device here, which is in every chapter, it will begins with like a day count. So essentially, you would know what our characters have done, what they're up to in one single day, which is quite smart. From here, it is just so hard to condense all these 700 pages long of information because I mean, I have just gone through so many interesting characters. Kanan and Aizen's group, I would say they are the main group. Given that with what had happened in just the last book, they have to come up with a plan quickly because I mean you can't just stop here with a limited manpower. With the discovery from another character called Carnival, who of course appears in the last couple of books, they realize what their ultimate goal should be. So they have to again come up with a plan to utilize every resources possible. Other than this main group, we also have so many other fun, sad characters to explore. First of all, of course, is Ella. My poor Ella. I don't want to give out too much here, but she is basically lost in an unfamiliar world. If we have Ella, of course we're gonna have Father, which is one of my favorite characters in this series. I think their relationship now reminds me so much of Miramil and Cartridge in Memory, Sorrow and Thorn series by Tad Williams. If you have read both series, you will know what I mean, but I don't really know how to describe this trope. Darling kept marching and suddenly he became a leader. We also got more dwarves politics from the perspectives of Kira. Did I miss anyone here? Because I mean it is just so much information stored in my brain. Why would I forget him? Risk, one of the OG gang. I'm really worried about him because I mean he is really powerful in terms of the magic system in this world, but he seems like to be controlled, manipulated by someone else, and his group is dealing with the rebellion. Same goes to Altor, a legendary Droid, is also fighting a rebellion from the elves. So my thought here can basically summarize into one sentence. This one can easily be a 5-star read, even though I haven't finished this one yet. Although I have just finished 700 pages, I don't feel like it at all. The writing is just so easy to follow, the pacing is just right. There is enough action, enough development, enough character growth, and there's no slog at all. If we are looking at the characters, they are all so well written. Yes, they are the characters we have been following since the beginning, but they grow so much in every book. Let's take the OG gang as an example. There's like some nods to the first couple of books where you will see, let's say, Canon saying if Riz is here, he will deal with this situation much better than me, and same goes to Dan and Riz. They will make certain observation and think the other two or one of them can do better than him, which is like the bonding is still there. I also love sometimes in a chapter, you can tell how much Kanan or Dan has observed about what the group has actually gone through and made a close comment about it. Maybe it is an admiration about what they have learned, or maybe it is the recognition of their growth. It just shows you how strong the bonding between these characters is, how much they have gone through together to make an observation like that. I don't know why I do it. As for Kanan, he has just gone through so much and learned so much from this experience, let's say the politics, from someone from the middle of nowhere to the position he is holding now. Gone through politics, scheming, action, wars, lost, his growth is widely accepted by all the other characters. Also, I found one particular chapter is quite smart, putting Kanan and someone who shares similar experience as the old Kanan, but Kanan now is not the old Kanan. He made the right decision about it and comment about it. It just shows you how much he has actually grown. He is not the old Kanan anymore. With this growth, he also tries to repair the relationship with Asen. If you don't know Asen, he is basically the leader, the heart of this rebellion. So you can already imagine he is quite a tough leading figure, let alone with what he has gone through in the past. So it is good for them to have a time to sit down and settle their conflicts. Kanan, like I said, has just gone through so much and becoming more mature in just 2 years. Asen also realized the role Kanan should play and opening up his insecurities. Like they said, honesty is the way forward. Then for other characters, I love the storyline of Father. Father is one of my favorite characters in this series because I always love a problematic one. So far, not too much from him, but I think that is enough. To see what he can do at the moment, to see something awaken deep inside his heart because of the journey with Ella, which is so touching to see. I also love the separation of Darlin from the main group. If you don't know, he is one of the kids of Asen. This can show you how much he has learned from his father of their journey together and try to be a leader. Again, other more well-respected characters showing their admiration to Darlin, and I can't wait to see how this plot gonna develop further. I want to see more from Eltor, what his true vision is, leading him to make all these decisions from 400 years ago. I know I am aware I am oversharing here, but I mean it is the last update before I am on holiday, and this book is just so good. For other little bits, little miscellaneous, I would like to see how the dwarves' politics gonna connect to the main plot. Currently, their plot is interesting, but I want to see the connection between them. And I might be wrong here. Like I said, there is like a day count in the beginning of each chapter. But I think there are a couple of days missing. Not sure is it important or like there's basically nothing happened. So we shall see, I guess. All I want to say here is you can really see how much the writing of Ryan Cahill has improved throughout the series, how intricate the world building is, how the plot expands, the emotions from all the characters. What sort of writing class did he take to improve so much in just 4 books? There are plenty of quotes that I have highlighted in this book, but I'll just share 2 with you guys. The first one is, it was a horrible thing to share, loss, but in a way, there was nothing else in the world that bound people together more closely. The next quote, for grief is not a constant thing. It is a monster that does not kill its prey but plays with it, torments it. Grief is not an obstacle to be overcome. It is an injury that must be accommodated. It never leaves, only wait. From this, what you can tell, if you don't know Ryan Cahill, you will know what sort of writing style he is going for, And if you know him, you will know how good they are. And from these quotes, you don't feel they're out of the context, you can feel the connection with them because they are what the characters have gone through. That is pretty much what I want to share with the 40% I have just read. I've actually packed everything and I am ready for my holiday. And I have also just filmed everything I need before leaving, so I still got some free time for reading before I leave. I may put some clips of my holiday later or maybe just share it. So I guess I'll see you guys later after I am back. See you soon! So hello guys, I am back from my holiday. I know it is really weird to say so because you have just seen me, but actually it has been 2 weeks since the last update. So it has been a long time for me. I am back from my holiday, but very unfortunately I caught a cold and you can really tell by my voice, it's really deep right now. So in this update, I'll try my best not to cough and it is really hard to do so. And this is also the reason why in April there is a week of me not uploading any videos at all. I do feel sorry about it because I thought I could make a video straight from the holiday, but my body don't allow me to do so and I still feel a bit under the weather. I still want to film this update because I really want to share my reading progress in these 2 weeks. Otherwise, probably the next time you see me, it will be the end of this vlog. So talking about the holiday, it was great. I spent a week in a lodge which was lovely, but only if the weather could be better. The trip would be so much better. When I read the weather report, it says it's gonna rain, but I didn't expect it gonna be pouring all week. And poor me, only just packed like a thin raincoat rather than like a proper rain jacket. I would get so cold when it is like really windy, and that is probably the reason why I caught a cold. But one day the weather around this lodge is so nice, it was really sunny so I could go out for a walk. There was like a trail that you could do in a forest which was lovely, and there was even like a hidden fairy, decoration around this piece of land which was cute. And there were some benches along the way which I could sit down and read. Then coming home with this cold, I didn't do anything else other than reading because I didn't really do much reading in this holiday and I am still on my second book of this month's TBR. And we are we are over halfway through April already. My reading progress is really bad this month. In hindsight, I shouldn't pick off Empires and Dust for this Magical Readathon. I didn't know it's gonna be like 1,600 pages long, and I obviously overestimated my ability to complete this book in time. I can even picture future me gonna name this video as How to Epically Fail Your Very First Magical Readathon. But never mind, we can still catch up with my reading pace and try to read as much as I can. Especially with this cold, I can't do anything else. Speaking of Empires and Dust, I have actually completed already. First of all, I want to say well done me to finish this like very thick fantasy break. But even I say so, I don't really feel like I read this much because this book is just fantastic. I honestly don't know how to share my thoughts here because it is just so hard to condense and summarize what I have just read. So the plot basically followed the same as the last couple of books, where a group of rebels lighting a fire everywhere in this empire and try to overthrow it because of what the ruler has done 400 years ago. We will follow a huge cast of characters coming from different backgrounds, and in here the leader of this rebellion is Asen, but the heart is Canaan, because he can achieve what others cannot do in these hundreds of years, which is to bond with a dragon. So in this fourth book, we will see how Canaan gonna deal with more politics with this new position. He might be coming from middle of nowhere in the beginning of story, but with what he has gone through in the last 3 books, he has just grown so much. After finishing this book, I would say the setup of it is really smart because it has tied up quite a lot of important events since the beginning of this series and get ready for the epic finale, which is of Gods and Ashes. So towards the ending of this fourth book, we will see quite a lot of conflicts that our rebels have been preparing would get fulfilled in a sense. What I would say here is all the battles that you're gonna read is going to be epic. Warriors, magics, mythical creatures, dragons, all in here, and it is just like a feast. If you are into epic battles in an epic fantasy series, you wouldn't be disappointed here. No matter for the hero or the evil, all the pieces are ready and set now, so I honestly can't wait to check out how this next level of conflict gonna play out in the finale. One thing I do praise a lot of this series is the character growth. Even though it is the fourth book, it can still achieve it. I still remember for the wrap-up of the third book, I said that I didn't see much of Darden, but coming to the fourth book, you're gonna see a lot of him. It is just so good to see Darden again to take what his father Aeson has taught him and inspires others. Same goes to literally every character you're gonna see in this series. None of them would feel flat to you. Let's say our main group like Kanan, Aeson, Ella, Pharaoh, Tamon, Dan, or maybe even for characters like Autor or his apprentice Solara. You can really tell how much, sorry for my voice here, you can really tell how much they have learned in this journey. Like I said maybe in the last update, I want to see more about Autor, what his real intention is like. This book do deliver, and I would say in a sense this character is really sad. What he is doing is not really helping him to achieve his goals, but the exact opposite. Then poor Riz. If you don't know who Riz is, he is like the good old friends with Kanan and Dan in the beginning of the story but got separated. His storyline is fun, but most of the time you feel like, come on, wake up mate, wake up. And when he finally realized the truth, it is a bit heartbreaking. He's like a kind of nerdy character, but even though he is separated, he is not with his best friends, you can still see how much he has learned, how much he has grown. I really want to see how his storyline gonna play out in the finale because I didn't expect his plot would go this way. This is also another thing I love about Ryan Cahill, how he gonna create some interesting drama. They are drama because they are dramatic, but it is also like a device to bring out something important, let's say character growth or the progress of the plot. Other than the setup for Kanan in the last update I just talked about, it also goes the same to Dan. Without too much spoilers here, later in the book, Dan will find himself in the same boat as the other characters. But here you can really see how different Dan has become, because he is not making a decision that the old Dan in the first book gonna make. He tried to think about it, he get rational. I just enjoy these moments because it just shows you the growth, and I mean they are also drama, so my popcorn is ready. I also enjoy the conspiracy in this book. I don't want to give out too much here, but there is like a group of mysterious characters that gonna intervene the conflict between the rebels and the Empire. What they want to do is to stir the events towards their favor, and they also got this really powerful ability, which is basically to see the future. So they kind of know what action is needed to get to their goal. But obviously we don't know the steps exactly. So with this power or like this group of really mysterious characters, gonna be like a wild card in this game. Same goes to Fane. Basically, he is the one started all these shits 400 years ago. He has been feeding everything so that he can achieve his goals. So from here you can see he is really manipulative. If you enjoy politics, you will get more of it from the perspectives of the dwarves. It is, in short, a very tragic story. It is like to get revenge, to take back what belongs to them, or to seek justice. but the resources were really limited to them and they have to make a very dangerous decision. How it turns out, I was shocked. This storyline obviously is not over yet, so I want to see how this gonna tie up to the main plot in the finale. Oh, I forgot, you can actually get some more politics from Kellen, obviously the heart of this rebellion. With the position he is holding now, and also this conflict is nationwide. Even though Kellen, his heart, wanna save as much people as possible, he really needs to balance and make a critical decision. He can't be everywhere at the same time to help as much people as possible. Also, he has to deal with some sort of local politics where they based in. The conflict is quite significant, especially between the group of Dralit, those who can ride the dragon, and the Rakina. Rakina is for those who has lost their soul skin. Let's say they may lost the dragon, or they may lost their human rider. So basically, they were alone. With what happened in the last conflict in the last book, they have to make a very important decision. Here it is really smart to do so because it shows you how much Kanan has grown to think of every interest and come up with a decision that could be beneficial to majority of the people. The ending twist though, do we really need it though? To be honest, I didn't see it coming and still I am questioning, do we need this drama here? I wouldn't say it is a bad one because it helps to expand the plot to another level. But I'm just thinking, do we really need this to make it more tragic in a sense? If you are into romance in an epic fantasy, which I think is quite rare, I do think the romance in this book is quite butch. Not like the good old Wheel of Time sort of like man don't understand woman, woman don't get what the man is like. It's not like that. I would say the romance in this book is quite organic. It is developed through the mutual admiration between these characters in this kind of nationwide conflict. They will kiss, don't get me wrong, but obviously there's not gonna be any spicy moments. Like I said in the last update, there's like a date count in this book, and I honestly can't believe all of the things that I have read in this book is packed within 25 days, less than a month. It is 1600 pages long according to the Kindle, and I honestly don't feel like so. The pacing is just right and you wouldn't want to put this book down, trust me. There's so much for you to explore, to dig, to find out what's gonna happen next, so it is definitely a page turner. At first I thought some build up, some setup in the beginning may be a bit too detailed, but later in the story everything would make sense and you would know why. I don't think I really have anything to complain here, so without a doubt, this book is going to be a 5-star read very easily. If you are into epic fantasy or if you have heard about this series before but haven't started it yet, I urge you to do so because honestly, every book will get better and better. If you are into character growth, I also think this series will be great because all of the characters are just so rootable. Putting these two books of Empires and Dust and the Ice back to the purpose of this video, the Magical Readathon. I think you can use the same author, not like the Reddit fantasy bingo. The Eyes can take off the prompt, spells and incarnation for Tomebinder, which is word from the last book I read, The Bands of Morning by Brandon Sanderson, and then The Eyes by Ryan Cahill. Obviously, I used the word the. For Of Empires and Dust, it is the first sentence challenge and the prompt is inscription. No matter what the other two books I'm going to pick for this prompt, nothing could beat my most anticipated release of this year, so Of Empires and Dust can take off inscription. Is it? Yeah, inscription. Which means that the only calling left for my calling is The Art of Illusion, which is a book I plan to read in this month. With this, as well as me wanting something fun and easy to read, I have another of my most anticipated release of this year, which is A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, the second book of the Shadow of the Leviathan series. Now I don't really have too much time left before the end of the month, so I need to finish the Magical Readathon as soon as possible. I still want to read Empire of Dust, second book of the Echo Saga, because it is my monthly reading plan. If it is fucked, I am fucked. The whole plan would be fucked. So I guess we should get to reading now. See you later. So, usually I will give you guys an update. Maybe I am halfway through a book, but this time I have actually completed A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. I know. Obviously, I'm not feeling well and I don't really have anything else to do other than reading. Yes, I had a good steak. That steak was delicious. But I'm not feeling great, not feeling well, and the only thing I can do is reading to spend the time. And over the weekend, usually I don't want to film any updates because I want to treat it as the holiday out of work hours. So now I have completed the book from Kobo. So let me tell you what is A Drop of Corruption is about. First of all, if you haven't heard about the Shadow of the Leviathan, it is a series that is so different from other fantasy books because it incorporates elements of a crime/mystery novel. We're gonna follow a detective called Anna and her assistant called Dean. Dean went through some sort of body alteration and turning himself into an engraver, meaning that with a stimuli, usually it is a smell, he could remember every details in a crime scene. With Anna not being able to attend the crime scene herself, she usually relies on the report from Dean to try to find out the truth of these murders. This time in A Drop of Corruption, this pair gonna visit a place called Yarrow to investigate a mysterious disappearance of a treasury official. And this place, Yarrow, got a really interesting political relationship with the Empire itself. But they quickly find out that this is not a simple disappearance case because it is a murder. So in this book, of course, we will try to find out the truth about this murder, with Dean try to collect all the evidence along the way and keep a good record of it. And most importantly, how this disappearance/murder case gonna be linked up to a much bigger, much more dangerous political conspiracy. If you don't know me, I always love a mystery or a crime case. Setting this in a fantasy world could make it more dramatic in a sense because the author could play with their imagination and bring the case to another level. Obviously, I won't go into the details of this murder here because if I tell you so, it would definitely completely ruin your reading experience, especially it is a new release. What I would say here is that by the end of the book, which is same as last one, the Tinted Cup, all the questions we would have along the way would definitely get an answer. Also, mixing a murder with a political conspiracy, it kind of make all the people we will meet in Yarrow. I wouldn't say we can't trust them, but definitely they will got another layer of secrets or maybe even a hidden agenda. So we will have layers upon layers of mysteries about this group of people. But there is a thing I don't really like in this book, which is the arrangement of the murder itself. Again, I wouldn't go into who is the suspect gonna be because I want you guys to find out the answer. But what I would say here is if you have read the book, you will know what I mean. I think the suspect or the murderer itself is lacking a wow factor. With this kind of arrangement, I would say that this case It's more about how this murder is committed or the motive itself, rather than like throwing you tons of suspects and let you guys to find out. Did I say too much here? But the ending twist though, I would say I could see it coming, but I didn't expect it would be like this, so I was shocked by it. I would say that Dean in this book got quite a lot of different adventures, not just like staying in the city, visiting all the potential suspects and try to collect all the evidence along the way, but also like he would travel to the wild for a very dangerous adventure, maybe even meeting some royals or even some sort of action. I do love this kind of tip of an iceberg situation. With more discoveries, we'll find out more about this dangerous political plan. But what I think is needed by the end of the book is like the good old like Poirot by the end of an episode in like the drama series, where Poirot would introduce the suspects and tell us what they have done in a chronological order. So as a reader or as a viewer, we would get like the full picture of the case itself. I feel like after finishing this book, most of the questions I have in my mind would definitely got an answer, but you do have to try to work your brain out, trying to put every piece together so that you can get what is actually going on. All the details are like scattered in different sections, and we need the glue to put them together, if you know what I mean. I also appreciate that in this book, we got some more depth from our two main characters, Dean and Anna. We understand more about the struggles, the problems Dean may have, as well as the origin or like the background of Anna. I know it is quite hard to get it done in a mystery fantasy book, but still I want to get some more character growth, character development from them. This kind of character development is present in A Drop of Corruption, but I feel like we could push it a bit more. I'm not sure is it because the author thinking like The Shadow of the Leviathan, this series is not like a trilogy and he may want to write more about it, so he don't limit himself, in this kind of character development. Maybe he has a grand scheme about it. All in all, I wouldn't say A Drop of Corruption is a bad book, but I am thinking it is not on par with The Tinted Cup, the first book of the series. Maybe the reason why The Tinted Cup is so good or maybe getting hype is because during that time, there is not much of this kind of mystery fantasy. I'm not confident to say that The Tinted Cup or this series is the origin of like mystery fantasy. But at that time, I think The Tinted Cup is like the pioneer of this genre, so it is quite new and refreshing take of this genre, fantasy. But coming to the sequel, like I said, I wouldn't say it is bad, but it just didn't blow you away. The murder itself is quite smart and try to connect it to the world building or a political conspiracy. But I just feel like Dean and Anna are just like tools in this series. They are needed, they are required to solve these murders for us. Yes, they got their own problems, they got their own struggles going on in their life, but I just couldn't connect to them. So maybe I would say this book is like marginally 4-star. I wish I could love it more because this kind of very easy, fun, but dangerous mystery fantasy is quite rare to find and such a refreshing breath. Even though I give it such a rating, I think I'm still gonna check out the sequels in the future. So for the Magical Readathon, the purpose of this video, A Drop of Corruption can take off the prompt, The Art of Illusion. As a Tomebinder, I finished all of the prompts needed for my calling. A Drop of Corruption, The Art of Illusion. The Eyes, Spells and Incarnations. Of Empires and Dust, Inscription. So well done me, first time playing this kind of reading challenge and finishing everything in time. So I guess we will see the Magical Readathon in the autumn term. I honestly enjoyed this reading challenge and had a fun time with it. trying to find a book that could fit these prompts and find a logical reason to fit my TBR. Let me know, do you have any other reading challenge idea? I guess I am in the mood for it. So if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel Dynasty so you won't miss anything fun from me. I'll see you all real soon. Goodbye.